Hi everyone, and welcome to another Giant Sisters podcast with Joe Brothers. Today I'm here with Jolie Hodson, Chief Executive Officer, Spark Digital. Welcome.
Hi everyone.
Hi. So Jolie, it's wonderful that we're talking with you today, and one of the first questions is around the power of intention, how you set up your life and where you are in your family and career. Did you make goals and achieve them, or did your life sort of evolve?
I think if I reflect on my life, there's elements that have evolved, but I still think there's a element of you having to own what you want to achieve in life, because nobody will give it to you.
Yeah.
I think being really clear though that that's not I have to take this step, that step, and the next in a very horizontal way.
Right.
It's really thinking about what are the things I love and enjoy, what skills do I already have today, and what do I need to broaden out further.
Right.
And for that means taking some courage and taking risk to make sure that you step towards those challenges, because it's easy to sometimes stay doing what you know and can love, and it might be more comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think back to a time when I just had my first baby Sam, and I'd come back to work, and the opportunity was in front of me to take another role outside of my current space,
right.
move across into a different part of the business, into a different area that I hadn't worked in before, and I was going to have two babies in quite a short space of time. So the comfortable thing would have been to stay where I was and keep doing what it was, but I sort of stepped towards the challenge.
Right.
And for me, I think that was one of the biggest learnings I've had in my career, in that actually while you take risk and it feels really uncomfortable at times,
yes.
what I learned in doing that role, because you learn most in doing,
Yes.
learn about myself, and also about adding things to my toolkit more on a commercial lens, was huge.
Yeah.
And it gave me the confidence to take those steps again later in life. So I wouldn't say I've been completely rudderless in how I've thought about my career,
Yeah.
but equally I've worked across a number of different industries now, different countries. If you'd asked me that when I was 21, did I think I would be doing all of those things or end up where I am today? Probably not. But did I have an aspiration to achieve, be the best I could be? Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Okay. That's a really great answer, and probably quite an interesting path you've had, because I know that you were at Lion Nathan for quite a number of years as well.
Yes, I was.
Would you mind sort of telling us a bit about your experiences there?
So I joined Lion back in 2000, and at that time Lion was moving to Australia, its corporate office, so I knew that I would start with them, and within a week I'd be working in Australia. So it's a bit of an adventure for my husband and I. We were just the two of us and two golden retrievers, so we headed across to Sydney, and firstly into a corporate finance role, and that was really good in terms of understanding the broader business, that step away from being in a chartered accounting to actually being in a actual business then. And it helped me build out both the relationships, because a lot of what you get done in an organisation is through people. Also build up the knowledge about the business. Later on, I then stepped into our Australian brewing business and wines and spirits, and I moved through commercial roles, eventually became a finance director there, and was in that role for around about 5 years until the opportunity of Spark came up. And partly, again, that was through the Lion network.
Right.
People who'd
Worked with you before?
Worked with me before, had spoken to someone who was on the board at that time, and she suggested my name for the CFO role at Spark. And so that's how that opportunity came to come back to New Zealand, but also back into a different industry.
Yes, exactly.
So shifting from alcoholic beverages to a telecommunications and IT business, which quite different if you think about that. And my first publicly listed CFO role. So it was a big step for me, but one I have not regretted at all. And if you think about what I was talking about before in terms of courage to take the steps I'd taken earlier, gave me the confidence to go again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've learned such an enormous amount in doing that.
And you must have had some very interesting days working for these two companies. Can you give us an example of some of your unique experiences that really stayed with you?
Well, probably when I worked for Lion, if you think about a customer visit, that was often out in the trade, into different venues, and amazing what you'd see in a day. And also actually spent quite a bit of time with the sustainability group when I was at Lion. So I also spent some time in different communities, so the Aboriginal community up north, and just really trying to understand our impact on environment, but also more broadly society as well. So I got to do some very different things. I got to go to some amazing sporting events around the world, because alcohol tends to sponsor a lot of those activities. And then in moving to Spark, probably a whole different industry to learn and understand about. One that's very fast moving, being disrupted all the time. Came at a time the organisation was going through enormous change, and really lined up with Simon Moda, came back to be the CEO of the organisation, and then put a team around him, and I was part of that. So for me, huge learning curves as I move through these roles, but that's part of what keeps me challenged. It's that curiosity to keep learning and growing, and it's not necessarily the role specific, it's more about what am I adding to the toolkit over time.
That's great. And embracing lessons, what challenges have you experienced that have shaped you the most?
I think challenges come in different forms. I think earlier in my career they're probably more around as you step from that being a great individual achiever to being a leader of people.
Yes.
So those lessons about stepping into spaces where you don't necessarily know all of, but you actually achieve through others. So how do you, particularly if you've got set a high standard around yourself, how do you make sure that you give people that opportunity to grow and learn, and how do you step back? So it's that teaching someone to fish. So I think for me, some of the challenges around that is getting opportunities to second into a role and feeling like I needed to be doing that role, plus looking behind me to make sure that everything was happening behind. So it sort of changed my behaviour, and it was a good learning for me as to how would I approach it the next time I got a role more permanently. Other challenges have also been about how do you balance family, work commitments, and how we want to operate as a family. And for me, that has been my husband Gareth elected to stay home when our children were young, and still is home now. So our children are 12 and 13. So that's also that balance around the conflict you can sometimes feel about. Should I be at home more? Am I doing as well as I could be at work? So it's all of those things. And what I say to people, and what I learnt over time, is there isn't a perfect balance. There's choices always.
Yes.
You can have many things, but there are trade-offs. And I don't think there's any simple answer to that, and it goes to your own personal situation and your family situation when you think about that.
Yeah. And I suppose if there's people listening and they're thinking, wow, what does a Chief Executive Officer for Spark Digital do? What does that job involve? Top line, what would that be?
So if you think about that, it's about setting strategy for our business. It's about leading and inspiring. I currently have around 1,200 people overall in my organisation. It's about working with customers every day. So I get to work with such a broad range of business customers across New Zealand, both government entities, so Department of Corrections, and then Revenue, Westpacs, the Air New Zealands of the world. So a whole range, and then a number of different other customers. So you get to see lots of different things that are happening around both in our community because of the influence they have on that, but also in the business environment, which I really enjoy the variety that comes in. And part of our role is really about enabling businesses to achieve what they want to. Technology is an enabler at the end of the day. It's really how does it support the business strategy. So my role is really about making sure we have the right product services to meet those needs of our customers.
Great. And in terms of, we spoke earlier, I suppose, about creative process and having an empathetic brain as well as a business brain. How do you have that sort of recharge, or how do you bring that into your role?
I think in terms of the empathetic, so there's a combination of what do you choose to get involved in, and that means both from a business sense, but also how do you give back and be part of community. For me, that's been really around, you talk about letting the ladder down, but being involved in mentoring, counselling, some business mentoring as well, but sharing skills and advice and being prepared to sort of share the things that didn't go so well. You know, when I first came into this role, there's some of the challenges that I had, both in terms of building my reputation out there with the community, in terms of new set of stakeholders, customers, and also understanding the part of the business that I was then operating in. So that comes with learnings, and from that you get to apply those in a new environment. So I think the thing you've got to be easier on yourself about, you know, if I was looking in the mirror, is accept that not all things will go exactly as you think, as long as you learn from them. And you show vulnerability, i.e. that you accept when things haven't gone as well as you'd expect. And you demonstrate that both for your people, but also with customers, in terms of, because then you work on a solution of how you make it work better in the future.
That's great advice.
So I think for me, that's part of it. I also, my children, supporting their sports, getting involved in those activities, even though my husband is the primary caregiver at home, still that ability to have that mix of both, so getting away to events where I can. That's how I sort of get that balance for me.
Great. In terms of heroes or inspirational people, who are they for you?
think some of the people that I look at, and it's not necessarily monumental people that you hear about all the time in the press, but it's people, so Michelle Dickinson, I was talking to you about this earlier. To me, she's great because of what she does to attract both children and particularly females into the STEMs, into sciences. The fact that she went from being, as a child, quite introverted to then being a fantastic public speaker and TED Talk type approach. How amazing is that?
Yeah.
And so that takes a lot of courage. And for me, it's those types of things I look at and think, okay, what could I learn from that? Rather than there's one person I absolutely want to be like. I often look for skills or things that I think, I need to work harder on that for myself. What can I learn from those people? So it's probably the likes of Michelle Dickinson and people like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
We've also spoken a bit about giving back, and I know you're involved with quite a lot in the community. Would you like to talk us through some of that?
So as I talked about, some of that's with mentoring. I've done a little bit through Callaghan and other organisations, but I'm recently involved with On Being Bold, which is again an organisation of business leaders who've got together to think about how do we give back and share experiences. So initially through some online, and then most recently last year we ran a conference with around about 500 women from all parts of New Zealand, community roles, governance roles and business roles came together, and it's really about putting together panels and speakers to share.
Great.
It's really to create a network, because I think that's one of the opportunities that I see, and it's helped me as I've evolved, is having that network, not in a political sense, but in a way that provides support and that you can share different experiences through.
Absolutely. So coming up this year, any exciting projects or innovations that you're going to be working on?
Well, as an organisation, we're very much focused on a shift to agile as a whole organisation. So that's a really interesting space for me to be in right now, because it makes you think about how you will operate in a new world, and largely, without going into a lot of detail, it is about shifting from a hierarchical organisation to one that's powering small teams of people, very purpose-driven. So if you, so it's quite a different way of working, and we're doing this with the intent of improving the experience for our customers, speeding up how we get to market, and empowering our people. So that's pretty exciting. You don't get many times in your career to be involved in change as significant as this. So
absolutely,
it's one of the big things that's on the cards for me right now.
That's a biggie.
Yeah.
And here in New Zealand, we're reflecting on 125 years of suffrage. So I just thought I'd like to ask you, what is your thoughts on the life and opportunities for girls and women here in New Zealand and around the world?
Look, I think we're probably at a stage in evolution at the moment that's probably never been as much opportunity. If you look at look at the Prime Minister we have, the chances that are there. Could we be doing more? Absolutely. Do we have enough women in senior business roles? No, we don't. But is there a pipeline coming through? And how do we help support them? And I look at, my hope for both my son and daughter is they have as many opportunities in front of them, and the choice is theirs about the career they want to take or the experiences they want to take. And as I think about how do I help them be set up for that future, for me it's thinking about making sure they build the skills of the curiosity, problem solving, collaboration, working across teams, because we don't know exactly what the jobs of the future will look like.
Exactly.
But those skills will carry them wherever they go. And building confidence. If I think back on my history, the thing that my parents probably gave both me and my two sisters the most of, we were never prevented from doing anything. Aspirations, we set hope, but they weren't, you must do this. It was, we will support you, and there was never any barriers. And I think confidence in anyone is a great attribute to have, and obviously in the right balance of that. But setting up children, and if you think about women today, I think there's lots more to be done for business, but I think we're starting to head in the right direction. And I think the more we do, like you're doing today, and the more we share of experiences, we start to open up what's possible for people.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for talking to us, Jolie. It's been great.